Let's get started. Thanks for waiting. And good afternoon. Welcome to Logical Sessions. For those of you that haven't met yet, my name is Chris O'Neill, and I'm the founder and CEO of Logical. And I'm more than excited to have you guys here. First and foremost, before we get started, I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your day and out of your busy schedules to be with us here today. We've got a lot of really exciting material to share with you. And our intent here is for this to be your best meeting of the year. Like I said, we've got incredible material, and our hope is that you walk away with learnings and understandings about this space and the AI work that we've done so that you can start building in your own businesses. But we got a lot to dig into, and I'm going to pass it off to my Vice President, Kevin Hughes, to get us started.
Yeah. Am I on? Yeah. Yes, cool, great. All right, so our topic this morning is a pretty popular one, a pretty buzzwordy one. We're discussing AI. What we're going to do today is specifically talk about some proprietary tools that Logical has built that we have actually deployed inside of our workforce. Most of the stuff is, at this point, internal, but part coming out of today, we will be adding this into our product rotation. These are things that our clients would be able to access, or that we will be able to talk about as offerings to prospective clients. So our whole theme for today is about singles and doubles as opposed to home runs. So it is a unbelievably, I think, loud and volatile time in our industry because of this term. It has absolutely disrupted everything that we do because it's just on the tip of everybody's tongue. It's a conversation we can't avoid, which is, should I be using it? Are you guys using it? How much should I be doing with it? Is it safe? Practical? All those things. The fact of the matter is that in our experience, and this is kind of our thesis we're going to present today, is that AI is best used when it's doing really tedious, monotonous, boring things. It should be replacing the small parts, but ultimately, I think probably the more unproductive parts of your daily or weekly workflow. And that's where we're trying to kind of install a couple of these tools. We'll go through use cases, things like that. So part of our problem today is, or part of our conversation today is this idea of AI hype. And if you have been, if your eyes have been open, if you've read anything in the last 6 months to a year, this is not a term you're unfamiliar with, but when we talk about hype, we talk about people saying your quote-unquote job, your industry is cooked. You guys are dead. The analyst, that position is now no longer needed inside an organization. I'm sure that you've heard that. I'm sure everybody has thought about that. Is my position in my organization or my job title in general just being totally dismissed? None of that's true. What we're talking about today is the fact that AI hasn't actually accomplished anything in the sense of no one's been replaced. Nothing is fully automated. You're not able to just sit in your staff home and turn on a certain computer program and everything just gets done. I'm probably happy about that. I'm sure you are too. But the reality is there are very small, very specific things that can be leveraged with tools like these to make life a lot easier. Small automations create big strategic wins. So we're going to talk today about, as much as we're talking about, I think, the technology, Logical's position on this is pretty simple, is that we want to leverage AI, we want to leverage tools to promote the ability and the time and the capacity of our human assets. So we want the strategists who, our clients hire us for our strategy, they hire us for our leadership, our guidance. We want our staff to be spending more time with you as our clients, with you as our prospects, guiding, reacting, analyzing, things like that. What we're talking about today are tasks that we have tried to automate so that our staff simply has more time to do that. So it is using automations to create human-driven strategic wins. We're going to introduce two specific tools today. They have fun names, Harry and Sage, you'll meet them later. And then we're going to talk about how we link those operational tasks that Harry and Sage are assigned to high trust outcomes. And you're going to hear us talk about trust a lot today because anytime you start talking about AI, that word trust comes up because it's either, are they going to take my job, or are they going to kill me? Is it Arnold Schwarzenegger time? And there's a tremendous amount of uncertainty. We want to make sure that we kind of lay out specific frameworks that allow you to go back if you do want to do this inside of your organization, that will leave your employees saying, I understand what they're talking about, I understand what goal they were trying to accomplish when we set out on unveiling this tool, and I trust that it's going to work. We are sending everybody home today. If you have your notebook on your chair, there's a little kind of pamphlet inside of that. There's a decision framework for you to review inside of your own organization, just questions for you to ask yourself that will help you decide if these things are even worth using. All of you, I'm sure, have some practical application for an AI type of tool. Very few of you have any reason probably to deploy a lot of the things you see out there. There are a million different agents and things like that that you've probably received advertisements for or you've just seen referenced. Most of them are fairly worthless, and they're not necessarily worthless because they're worthless as tools. They just may not have any function inside of your specific organization for what you're trying to accomplish. That framework is in there. We'll touch on that later, but it is yours to lead with, and then we'll do some takeaways and closing.
No, you're good.
Cool. All right. So we talked about this problem with this hype. It is overrun with buzzwords and demos. Probably the biggest buzzword for me is agent. I'm sure you guys have your own that you've heard about. A lot of them for me, and I spend a lot of time in this space, I just genuinely don't know what people are talking about when I hear these things said. So automation, agents, you should be doing chatbots, you should be doing all these things. It all sounds cool, but in reality it is a lot of innovation theater. Innovation for the sake of innovation. There's a lot of people, I think probably just saying we're using these tools inside of our organization. I think the reason why you're seeing a little bit of the crash when you're looking at like the stock market or the fact that like some people Meta this week announced they're downsizing their AI team by about 600 people. A lot of the reason that kind of stuff is happening is because no one is actually stepping up and saying, here's practical use cases for what we're doing. It's very hard to connect the idea of this is life-changing technology with, can I actually see what you do with it, and is it in any way relevant to what I do? Hype erodes trust. So there's that thing. We had this massive, kind of rollout of AI is here. It's going to take over your job. It's going to make your job easier. The market's reacted. The job market absolutely has reacted. But we're kind of 12 months later, and it's like, what actually has changed? What can I see that's changed? So the risk in this is, I'm sure most of you in here are leaders in your organization in some capacity. The risk is when somebody hears that something for too long without any type of proof, without any type of reinforcement, eventually the boy who cried wolf takes over and you sort of just roll your eyes and move on. And so the erosion of trust that's happening in the whole industry right now is tech in general, not necessarily like enjoying its best reputation, but I think AI in particular has connotations with it that come with the environment. It has connotations that come with the way the workforce is reacting to it. There's a lack of trust. So that's a big part of our thing today, is just making sure that we are able to tie small wins to staff trust, to stacking up, I think, the little things over time. So 2 questions to ask yourself, and there's a lot of questions, but the 2 really for the purpose of today's conversation. Is manual work putting your compliance, your client relationships, or your credibility at risk? And what I mean by that is, are the people who are most essential inside of your organization spending so much time on these types of tasks related to those 3 categories that it's just becoming a distraction? I'm positive the answer is yes. If it's not, I want to have a separate conversation with you, but I accomplished that. But in general, we assume the answer to this is yes, and then what could that team accomplish? Particularly your highest performers, your top achievers. What could that group accomplish if some of these monotonous, tedious, repetitive administrative tasks were taken off their plate?
Sweet. Thanks, Jeff. So, what do we mean by boring? Low-level, repeatable tasks that consume a lot of your employees' time. That is what we want to find in terms of identifying how you can automate them in a responsible and reliable way. And that's what we're going to show you what we did here today, what we built and how we automated those tasks that consume a bunch of our employees' time. So I'm excited to introduce you to our first agent. But before I do that, I just want to share a kind of personal reflection that I've been having. Logical's turning 19 this December, and after the almost past 2 decades of being in business, I've reflected on the big exponential technological advances that we've seen over the past 2 decades, and quite frankly, trying to think about how it made me feel when those new advances came out. And I actually had anxiety about it because I felt like it was a race. Whoever got there first was going to win. Or more importantly, whoever didn't get there first was going to lose. And I've had to almost train myself and think about it in a way to remind myself, and I want to remind all of you that the brands that win this race aren't the ones that deploy large volumes of this new prototype, of this new technology, very quickly. The brands that win this race are the ones that learned the fastest. So if you think about the exploration of any new technology, it's about celebrating small wins. and also embracing it and finding value in unintended outcomes. So success in this new AI world that we're living in requires companies to be dedicated to continuous learning, right? And maintaining that curiosity about what's evolving and what's happening. So I went back over the past 2 decades and I was like, which was the biggest one that we could compare to today so I could show the disparity between the two? And then I went back through my whole life and I was like, what's the biggest one that I could compare? And I'm not going to explain it to you. I'm going to let you listen to the sound of it. This is the sound of the largest technological advancement I've had in my lifetime. This is the best part right here. That is ridiculous. Sounds like a chainsaw, like a garbage can or something. 1991. You remember, or you're old enough to remember, that was America Online's dial-up modem connecting a computer to the internet through the phone line for the very first time. And I can remember that sound coming out of my brother's bedroom and coming down the hallway when we were both in high school. And massive change, right, for our space, for all of us. We've never conducted life, business, anything in the same way since. And that's the sound of what we're hearing right now. It's the same, back then in 1991, it was the same hype, it was the same noise, it was the same rapid deployment of brands launching on the internet as quickly as they could. And it was less than a decade before the dot-com bubble burst. Right? And we're hearing that same sound now, that same noise, that same loud hype. And I want you to try and suppress that and train yourselves and remember that learning and continuous learning and embracing, right, building, and that didn't work, and building, and that didn't work, and building, so that you have a foundation to build upon. So, I am excited to share our first AI agent. This is not her. This is Tara. Tara is my director of HR, and that is McClellan. That's her son sitting on her lap. McClellan was born this year in February, and Tara is a very detail-oriented, responsible HR professional. So this time last year, 6 months before she was going out on maternity leave, she scheduled a meeting with me, and she said, we gotta get coverage for my work. Now Tara reports to me, so her job responsibility is most certainly my responsibility, whether she's in the building or not. But being a detail-oriented person, in that meeting, she had a G-sheet that had like 500 plus tasks that need to be managed on a monthly basis in her absence. I immediately said, we need to hire an HR contractor. And not because I don't want to do her job, quite frankly, I'm not qualified to do her job. But we went through that list and we tried to surface things that I could support in her absence. And what we found is that Tara gets asked a lot of questions throughout the year that, takes up a lot of her time. And she said, Chris, I have an employee handbook that we've built, which again, detail-oriented, very responsible. We are arguably overly comprehensively compliant for a 40-person company. But she said they can go self-help themselves to all the answers in this employee handbook, and they don't need to come to me. But they do because it's the path of least resistance, and they know they can get the answer fast enough. In that moment, Harry was born. Harry is our first HR agent. We call him HR Harry, and he was built and designed to answer all those questions. So I'm going to show you him in action in a moment, but here's an example of me asking Harry what our employee holidays are this year. And he just lists them all. We have a new employee come on board. What's our 401k plan and how do I enroll in it? At the end of the year, what's our PTO rollover policy? How many days left do I have to roll over? And now Harry can answer all those questions. So what's the benefit of that? What's the value add of doing that? Well, we have a happier employee because they have a seamless, interactive experience that they can self-help themselves to all those questions. They don't have to wait for Tara, ask her a question, schedule a meeting, and wait for her to respond. So we've got a more efficient, happier employee experience. On the flip side of that, we calculated it was about 20% of Tara's annual time given back to her on an annual basis. So again, talking about low-level, repeatable tasks that set the stage for going after bigger wins, Tara could spend more of her time on bigger picture items, higher impact items. So, as we started and as we mentioned, I want to show you how we did it. So Harry we created the holistic AI real-time research yard, which is not the sexiest name for a development sandbox. But we are a marketing company, and we wanted to have a little fun with it, so it does spell his name. I will say, as a quick aside, I get asked often, what is an AI agent, Chris? How would you define an AI agent? And my answer to that is always, it's anything that uses a large language model. It's anything that is connected to an LLM like ChatGPT. So what we did is we took that overly comprehensive employee handbook and we put it on the cloud. And we connected ChatGPT to it. And then Harry sits on top and manages that communication. We are a Google shop, so we added Harry to our GChat feature. So you log into the Google chat, you have all your employees listed there, and Harry's listed as one of the employees. And so our teammates can go in, they can ping Harry, and he responds until he uses large language, queries into our handbook, and then delivers the response in chat. We've also trained Harry a little bit to be unique to us. So he has memory. So if you interact with him and you have repeated questions, he can reference previous questions in the context of the conversation that you're having. We've also trained him on our values. So one of our values is water. And water is about permeating the foundation of a business and finding all their challenges and filling those cracks in their foundation with services. That's the point of why we exist as a brand. And if you ask ChatGPT what water is, it's going to say it's 2 hydrogen atoms, an oxygen atom. It covers 90% of the Earth's surface. It's salt water, fresh water. If you ask Harry what water is, Harry will say barriers and obstacles aren't seen as challenges, but they're seen as opportunities for us to get around and provide value and service to the brands that we serve. So he'll even put a little like water emoji at the end of his responses when he chats back to you. So how did we build him? Harry's made up of these 4 components. The first is his brain. He is a computer program. He is a block of code that we wrote and we deployed onto a server, and he is awake 24/7, waiting for a command or waiting for a request. And then we connected him to the LLMs. Originally he was connected to, in his brain. And similar to like the water value that we kind of defined him as, we put very specific instructions into his brain so that he has a clear understanding of how he's supposed to respond to our employees' questions. So for example, he knows who Logical Media Group is. He knows the work that we do. He has a job description, so he understands his roles and responsibilities. And again, we were having fun with it, but this is part of the construct. We gave him a personality. So if you ping me in a chat and I'm responding, before I hit enter, you see the ... similar to any text message feature as well. So you know I'm engaged in the response. Harry's a computer program. He doesn't do that, right? There's no pause on a keyboard. So we have him respond right away. And he responds and he says, I'm working on that order for you. And that way you know he's engaged. He goes to the employee handbook and delivers the response. And we gave him some cheeky dog responses. So he says, I'm barking up a tree for that order. That's a bone I can dig for, right? Interactive experience for our employees. Second, the LLM. By definition, an AI agent is anything that is connected and uses large language model. So we need that technology in order for this to effectively work. So we connected him originally when we built him to ChatGPT. Now we've connected him to all the LLMs, and he can have versatility in terms of which large language model he's working with in terms of surfacing that answer. Why would we do that? Well, it's twofold. First, we've had LLMs around for a very short amount of time, but they have surfaced very different features in terms of their capabilities. So, as an example, Claude has been reportedly better with arithmetic and numbers than the other LLMs. So if we have a numbers-based question that's going to Harry, he will switch and use Claude in order to surface that response. The second is the context window. I'm not going to dive too deeply into how LLMs work, but think of the context window as how much information you're giving ChatGPT when you prompt it. Is it a sentence? Is it 30 sentences? Is it 30 pages? Are you uploading files? So that's the reference in the context window, and it's measured in what's called tokens. I'm not going to dive too deeply into what a token is, but think of a sentence condensed into a symbol or into a number. And what the LLMs have done is they have taken all the text on the internet and they have condensed it, which makes it significantly less expensive for them to computationally process all of the requests that are coming in. ChatGPT's context window, when it came out, was 168,000 tokens. More than enough for Harry to query our handbook. But when you start thinking about large data sets and passing large volumes of information for an agent to work on, the context window could potentially need to be larger. So Google, when they finally came on the scene with their LLM Gemini, Gemini's context window was 2 million tokens. So far larger breadth of data to be able to pass through that context window. Third, and I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on the next slide, but you have to connect these things together. So there's two vehicles to connect them, and I'll go through kind of a little bit of detail on the next slide. The last one is the database. So in our case, it is the employee handbook. But again, when you were thinking about finding repeatable tasks in your businesses, right, mundane, repeatable tasks that take up a lot of your employees' time, typically it is associated with a data set, and that's how this construct works. So I know there's a lot going on here. What I want you to remember, what I want you to take away, kind of back to Kevin's point, we built Harry so that our employees trust him. Right? He has consistency. His reliability is no accident. We've engineered him specifically this way using these 4 components so that when he responds, it is the same answer to the same question every time, just like Tara would.
Okay.
Yeah?
When Chris told me about Harry in the first place, my reaction to this is I was like, what you're talking about sounds to me like Control F. That's how I reacted. I was like, this is a control find function. And so I may have been like more skeptical of the functionality of this earlier than other people. The difference is, and you saw an example earlier where the screenshot that Chris showed was someone asking, one of our employees asking what our company holidays. If you have any function in your organization where people either submit time off to you or if you answer questions about that, there has never in the history of the world been one singular question that comes from an employee about time off. Because the next question in that sequence is naturally, do I have it off? How many days off a year do I have? How am I supposed to know? Where do I submit that? There's always a string of questions. And so when we talk about time saving internally for us, it is the ability for Harry's brain to be programmed to automatically and instinctively know where that next question in sequence is. So if it becomes, would you like to know if you have that time off, or what the policy is on that? Am I good?
Yeah, you're good.
So it instinctively does that. If you are someone who is trying to sell something, if you're trying to guide a customer down, it works the exact same way in that there is a sequence that naturally exists that we want to try to replicate. So Harry's brain, or whoever's brain, it is designed to really, the first question is Control F. It's the second question, the third question, the evolution of that, which is really special, and where, I think eventually a lot of the stuff Chris is getting ready into starts to show up in chat.
Thanks, Kevin. And a little bit of granular detail. I talked to a lot of rooms about the AI that we're building, and it's no surprise there's varying degrees of knowledge of this space, from very basic to very advanced, and we sit in that window as well. So I don't want to dive too deeply into how the connectivity tissue works. I'm going to take you through it at a very high level. We're likely going to release a webinar. If you want to get real deep on it, we'll go through kind of a different version of it. But I want you to remember and take away that there are 2 main vehicles to connect an agent and an LLM to a data source. The first one is referred to as retrieval augmentation generation, or RAG. That's what we use for Harry, and we connected him and the LLM to our employee handbook. MCP, or Model Context Protocol, is a newer version that has come out. So think of it as the same technology, but you're accessing an external data source, whether that's a cloud repository or direct in platform. So think Google Ads, LinkedIn Ads, Asana. You can go right in and use Harry's brain to query data directly into that platform's data versus a cloud repository of it. So, with that being said, I want to show you how it works. Kevin, you want to kill that light? Give you a quick demo on Harry.
How much time does your team waste answering repetitive workplace questions? Harry, our operational support agent, changes
See my meeting with Tara out there?
handling tasks like IT password resets, access requests, or policy reminders. Finance questions like expense report status or invoice details. Operations onboarding checklists and scheduling. even sales scripts and lead assignment queries. Harry delivers instant responses to employees, so team members get answers right when they need them. No waiting, no bottlenecks. And operations professionals are freed from spending their day on one-off requests, giving them more time for meaningful strategic work. Harry isn't just another support tool. It's a secure AI-powered team member that learns and improves every day, providing accurate answers so your experts can focus on real work. Automating internal support saves up to 20% of your team's time reclaimed for building company culture and growth. Harry is more than technology. It becomes your company's single source of truth and gets smarter with every interaction. Unlock your team's true potential. Meet Harry, your dedicated AI support agent from Logical Media Group.
How cool is that? Basic agent, but we were, again, going back to celebrating small wins. We built one, works. My wife Lauren, who works here, we were out on dinner with friends trying to plan a 3-day week vacation. And we have a lot of company holiday, like 3-day weekends, mental health days. And I asked Harry, when's our next mental health day or when's our next day off? And we planned a 3-day weekend out of that at the dinner table. So it was a fun experience. But as you guys have been thinking about what we've been doing, any repeatable tasks in your organizations that you can think about that would be applicable? Feel free to shout it out, raise your hand.
Payroll?
There you go. Outstanding. Great idea, right? He could absolutely connect, right, and determine what payrolls have been distributed, as long as that information's in a system that can be recorded, right? Great idea.
Event dates.
Pardon me?
Event dates.
Event dates? We have so many event dates in our employee handbook. Great question, I think, Julia, is that, he could surface any one of those, right, upon request, in terms of what's available or what our next event is. We've stitched him into, and now Harry is no longer an HR agent. He is a full-blown operations manager here. And we've got him connected into finance, IT, sales, full operations. And again, I'm not trying to flip our company over overnight to be an AI-enabled agency. Celebrating small wins builds that foundation for us to scale and do it again. So we learned a lot trying to get Harry off the ground. And it wasn't easy. Jared?
How are you using them for sales?
So what we're taking all of our scopes of work and we have put them on the cloud. And so everybody's probably heard, I can't do that right now, I've got to get the scope out before 5 o'clock today, right? So we have requests that come in. Imagine a prospect that says, I want to do an enterprise paid media endeavor with you, which is paid search, paid social, programmatic, if it's direct to consumer, Amazon or marketplace ads. Each one of those scopes of work is an individual tasks and deliverables very specific to that channel. Even social, you think about Meta, Instagram, LinkedIn, like each one of those scopes is very unique. And I can't tell you over the past almost 2 decades how many I've had to stitch together, and it's taken sometimes a day. So Harry can pull that together immediately inside 30 seconds, maybe less. And what we're doing is we're taking call discovery notes. And when we're on with prospects, we ask very intentional questions now that go into the call notes. So not only do we tell him, go build a scope of work, but reference the call notes so we can understand what the prospect's pain points were and what the outcome was in terms of what we were going to deliver for their services. Great question.
Tag onto that.
Yeah, because you're doing most of the
I
scopes.
use it more. Yeah, so essentially like what we have Harry built to do is if I have a proposal deck that I've made and presented, if the prospect client says that's good, I can basically dump that in with very little context, and Harry is designed to take me through a series of questions and answers that are dummy proof to our system. So that basically tells it if it wasn't me, if we had a new sales rep who trained, it will ask questions, are you sure you want to do this? It says that you have you're giving the client a 60-day out, are you sure you want to do that? It says that you're not going to break their legs if they don't pay. Do you want to do that? Those kind of things. So yeah, it is not just like a return and respond type of thing. It is, it reads sort of the general structure of the proposal, but it does that as somebody who writes most of our scopes, that's a 3 or 4 hour deal that got turned into usually 30 to 60 minutes tops. The next part of that for me that I'm working with Harry on right now is making it so that I can easily translate call notes into a proposal, like that all of our services are banked in Harry's memory. So yeah, I mean, I think from that perspective, you're getting the right part of it, which is that I want to be able to just say I want to do this, and the rest of the stuff populates.
How often do you, I mean, are you able to hyper-personalize? Because each proposal, I mean, you just don't copy and paste, everyone's different, obviously. So is it able to take the call notes and hyper-personalize?
Really good question. Yeah, so it does, and it's also trained to, it has to answer certain questions before it will turn it out. So for instance, it has to at some point say, what are the prospect's goals and what KPIs are you being measured on? Once that's answered, it's pretty simple for it to turn around and intuitively understand how to frame this. So in our central database, there's a lot of obviously tinkering with the mental structure. There's also, the best thing you can do is just provide examples. So we have a lot of central foundation documents that it's asked to reference. Those are the kind of things that we spend our time tweaking.
I'll leave you with one more before we introduce you to our second agent that we built. I had a client call me and say, hey, you have to stop what you're doing. Your marketing is too successful. I can't fulfill on the sales that you're bringing in because I can't hire fast enough. That doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's a great thing. My response to that was, I am not stopping what I'm doing. I will help you staff. Tara, not only a detail-oriented, responsible HR professional, but she's one of the best recruiters on this planet. And so we recruited for that firm. We staffed their positions. We charged them for it. They paid us for it. And we kept the wheels turning. Then we started recruiting for other clients. Now we have clients that we only recruit for. And Tara has been in the building. She's been out for 4 months this year. We have 2.5 months left of the year, so she's only been in the building for 6 months. And she has generated almost 2% in terms of recruiting revenue relative to our gross revenue for the company. So when you think about what we were talking about before, automating repeatable, mundane, not earth-shattering tasks that consume a lot of your employees' time. And remember, boring doesn't mean unimportant. Those tasks are important. They are what keep our businesses running. Right? But if we can find a way to responsibly automate them, then we can go after bigger wins. I never believed that Tara would generate almost 2% of gross revenue for the organization by creating an agent that gave her 20% of her time back. So that's our best case study in terms of an outcome going after a big win.
Yeah, as we move into that, in the handout that we gave you, when you're looking at your sort of checklist, most of what we talked about today is applied to us internally. If you flip that out and you think of your customer, your end user, there's a lot of the exact same type of offering available. So if you have a website with, for instance, like a very large product inventory, and a lot of your time as a marketer or marketing manager is spent trying to figure out how to get people to category pages or down to individual product pages. The ability to ask questions, to react, and to be trained, I think, programmed to direct people through the site or through the customer journey in this capacity is very simple. It's also something you can react to, you can learn from, those kind of things. So as you're going through the framework, and if you want to follow up with us and have that conversation, that's what we want to do. Is I think a lot of the use cases here probably haven't even been thought of. I think a lot of this stuff is like it's as applicable as you can dream it. And those are it's exciting because the framework and kind of the principles being in place allows you to really do whatever you want. So that I think is a good transition into our second agent. So I want to introduce Sage. So Sage is our data analyst. We had an opportunity, I think, once Chris proved me wrong on my Control F accusation. I started thinking about other areas in our company where there was some rot. And so when I think at the end of 2024, Marta Lucci, who'll be up here later, our director of product, and I, we sat down with Lauren. We use Harvest for time tracking internally. What I looked at inside of our organization is where does our team spend their time according to their billing. This is probably not going to shock you if you've worked with an agency. It's just deck prep. Deck prep and reporting is a disgusting amount of our time. I mean, I was actually disgusted. I was like, we cannot be spending this much time which is when one of our employees, that I think Jesse coined the phrase that we're deck jockeys, and I was like, we are deck jockeys. I was like, all we do is just make decks. We are just constantly putting reporting together, and I was like, this is the next thing that we have to solve. And so I was absolutely determined to be able to go and position ourselves as an agency that when you hire us, and we sell the same way a lot of agencies sell. We bring our senior people to the sales call and say, meet so-and-so, we let them impress you, you're gonna be able to spend all this time with this person, you guys fall in love with it. I wanna be able to back that promise up by ensuring that our best, most talented people, a lot of whom are in the room today, have the time outside of building decks and doing reporting to accomplish the business goals that you've hired us to do. That is extremely critical. So Sage was born from that frustration and that horrifying meeting. And what we've done is what you can see up here on the right, and is a little pixelated, but I can kind of walk you through it. This is, when we talk about proprietary, this is our proprietary dashboard. This is the user experience that our clients and our team internally will begin to work with in Sage. So this is, all of you, if you are one of our clients, you've seen our reporting. It's good, it's fine, but it's slides in a deck, and most likely none of you have any idea where those things are. This is a living, breathing, always around dashboard that comes with, up in the left, you probably can't read them, but there's tabs like live analysis, there is audience management, there is just basically all these types of key insights that are here. It's designed to be very simple. One of the things that I'm most excited about is it is designed to be what we would call dynamic. Dynamic in this sense means that a seasoned marketing veteran, somebody who is probably at the mid-tier of an organization that may have hired from an agency that has 7, 10 years experience, they need a different level of insight reporting than a C-suite individual. It's just different, and a lot of times we spend, that's ad hoc reporting time, where somebody gets called and says our board needs to see a report. What Sage is going to do is allow us to give our clients a unique login, and your profile will be on there that suggests where you are in your organization. So if you need C-suite level reporting, which is usually very, very zoomed out, high level revenue focused, that's gonna be there. If you're like, I'm actually in the weeds every day, I need to understand very specific performance KPIs, that's gonna be there for you too. Down here in the bottom, you're gonna see some key insights pop up from people on the team. So it might hop in and you might say, okay, Braden on our team called out a couple weeks ago that we were able for the first time to break through our revenue goal in this specific category. So these things are just gonna be there, always learning, always kind of propagating. And you'll be able to kind of see the data streams over here on the right. So I'm about as excited for this part of it, which by the way isn't an AI tool at all, it's literally just a dashboard, but I'm as excited for this part of it for our clients because I think so much of this is just about trying to put data into a narrative and put it into a position where you can understand it. The second thing here is that we, and I say we as an industry, agencies and people who do reporting, have put you as people who potentially hire an agency in a position where we force you to become analysts on the fly on every call when we just hand you sets of data. It's true, we're guilty of it, but we just say, here's a slide with numbers on it. A lot of times we use marketing specific abbreviations or words, and you're like, I don't want to look dumb, so I'm not even gonna ask you what this is, and you're checking your email by the time we're 10 seconds into the slide. What we want to do with Sage is focus on narrative at all time, and again, focus on that kind of dynamic responsiveness in the report. So Sage started in ChatGPT, and so this is something that we tested, we built, we perfected over time inside of ChatGPT. That's why this is a screenshot from ChatGPT. We'll talk about how we trained it, but what we're seeing, what this tells us, the next steps, this is very, very central to Sage's central programming. It is designed to tell me, not in numbers, but in words, what's happening in the account. So up there at the very top where you see search converts, M-dash, but PMAX and product data lag. That is such a significant piece of valuable reporting that is missing from most agency reports, is setting the frame, allowing you to ground yourself in what you're actually looking at on a slide. A lot of times for a lot of agencies, this would just say paid search performance or September performance. And then it requires you on the call, again, I don't know, an expert in this type of work, to have to figure out what it is you're looking at. And so what we try to say is, search converts, PMAX and product data lag. And in this, what this tells us section is where we actually diagnose. It's where we as data analysts do our job of saying, why is this happening? So in this case, you're looking at it and okay, we're getting the traffic on the site that we need. We have creative fatigue. We know that we need to update our merchant center, all these things. You should not have to think about numbers, in my opinion, all that often. And the number most people in your position, those of you in the room, care about is our revenue, ROAS, those kind of things. What we want to do is give you stories to walk away from, and that is what Sage is designed to do. When I started looking through those decks that our team was spending a tremendous amount of their time on, I realized not only are they spending a lot of their time on it, a lot of the stuff is not very good. And that is because we hire data scientists here. We do not hire people who are equipped, capable, or even hired to write really good narrative slides. So at the very least, Sage has been a tremendous help to our team to be able to throw. Let me give you some numbers. Can you give me back a more readable, a more digestible sense of the data narrative? And then finally, it frees your best people to be editors, advisors, and storytellers, and not just report writers. This one I cannot stress enough. When you hire an agency, when you hire any type of marketing partner, it is a very important question to yourself, or maybe to ask them in an RFP process or whatever, is your staff going to be writers or are they going to be editors for me? And that's probably one that you haven't thought of, but if you really think about it, you want your strategists to be editors. They should constantly be looking at things from a global perspective and able to review, to analyze, to make changes quickly. That simply cannot happen if they're spending their time writing decks and writing reports. If they are in platform, it can't happen. You cannot get global strategy unless these things are done. The relationship between our strategy team and this product has produced, in my opinion, some of our best, again, human work. This whole thing is here to allow the people in the room to do their best work because of their ability to get, I think, quicker insight and ability to have some of the narrative stuff done. So what's in Sage's brain? Chris went through sort of the LLM component last time. It's a lot of the same type of stuff. But in this case, we went back inside of our own organization and we started from a fairly unique place. I sat down with every single person in our entire company last year and we went through a series of product relevant words. Words like strategy, like insight, reporting, analysis, a couple of things like that, optimization.
Analytics to insights.
Yeah.
Insights to action.
Yeah. I asked them, I said, in your opinion, what does this mean? I'm ashamed to tell you, but I'm willing to tell you, I got back pretty much entirely different answers from every single employee. That was another tough conversation. Now, that's not to say most of them were right, but they were right in different ways that I was like, this could absolutely crush some time, because it's very regular, very common in an agency space for me to say, hey, Marta, can you give me some analysis on this? Or I need to get this out to our client in the next hour. Can you write up some insights? That turns out was a real slippery slope because it means something very different to different people. So what we wanted to do with Sage is create a centralized database where these things are locked in. So we actually put down a company-wide definition of all of these terms and then fed it to Sage to take basically the ambiguity off the table. That is extremely critical because the truth is there is no correct answer to those terms. How you define that, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying that our definition is the right one. All that matters is that we're all using the same one. So basically we put that in there, and so all you need to do with Sage is feed it any data set. It is wired to understand, if I say I just need insights for the client in an hour, it's wired to understand what logical means by that. That's very critical so that I can pass along to our staff, and we'll be talking the same language.
And similar to how we programmed Harry's brand, we've programmed Sage's brand with those specific items. So Harry knows who Logical Media Group is. We've programmed Sage to know who the brand is that he is working on. So we have a brand dossier that understands their KPIs, it understands their stakeholders. So when it's formulating responses, it's referencing this may be a response that a CEO cares about versus a CRO or a CMO or a marketing manager or a strategist, right? It takes that into consideration based on who it's working with. And those are sort of the specifics that we put into his brain to make sure that the output is very accurate to the point of contact that we're dealing with on the client side.
Yeah. And yeah, so essentially anytime a strategist or any person in the organization hands over data sets, they're getting back the same consistent thing, which has been extremely valuable to us. So we start talking about what makes Sage impactful. Again, it's that one source tailored for all, actionable insights, not just numbers. One of my most favorite terms that I think most of our staff absolutely hates when I say out loud is decision velocity. So decision velocity is the amount of impactful decisions you can make inside of your account in a given week, month, whatever. And when I say account, that could be a Google ad account, that could be Meta, that could be you just are running a more traditional, off and on digital campaign. But essentially, someone needs to do what we call pivot points a couple times a month, analyze data, make a move. This is designed, to put quite simply, I told our team this, I just want to see our strategists making 3 to 4 more optimizations in a given month than they are right now. I will be satisfied just by seeing pivot points happening more frequently. So at this point, we're literally in a numbers game. I want to see this AI tool free up, same way we talked about Tara being able to add bottom line revenue by having other time. I want to see our strategists, I'm going to evaluate you on your ability to show more high level strategic work. There's a word that comes up in every RFP we fill out, in every sales conversation, and every time I talk with our clients about how our performance is, it's the P word, and it is proactive. Proactive is, everyone is like, I just want a proactive partner. What that means is I want someone to tell me what to do, and also not disagree with me when I tell you why we can't do it. But in this case, proactive has to mean decision velocity, which is that we are constantly holding our clients accountable to what comes next. We see what happens next in your account. And I tell them they don't have to agree to it. Maybe they can't. Maybe they don't have the internal resources, the time, the capacity to do it. But I was like, I want to see you putting actionable things in front of our clients at all times. And I expect you to do that because we have taken a lot of these things off your plate in terms of decks and whatnot. So we talk about like the impact on the reporting. This is stuff that I look at reports all day long. You may not. The reports here to me are so important because it is incredibly actionable. If you can read this, the top, it goes into some detail on the digital ads specifically that are driving sales. This is all fake client data, but essentially this is saying here are the specific types of creative that are converting. So we have these UGC ads, we have a revenue-based bid model as opposed to a click-based, we have some seasonal promotions. The next thing you look at when I talked about not giving you numbers but giving you giving you narrative is efficiency is the next battleground. Growth is real but not sustainable without these metrics right here. So it's telling you specifically, it's just saying it usually comes down to 2, 3, 4 KPIs that are keeping you from hitting whatever goal that you're trying to do. We're gonna go ahead and target them. And then the very next thing is exactly, here's how we're gonna fix it. And this is not uncommon for this type of client. That CRO and landing page optimizations are probably the way to get from one conversion point to the other. That is simple, it's quick, you do not have to look through 45 lines of data, you don't have to become an analyst. We are telling you in very simple language what's working, what's not, and how we're going to fix it. That is, in my opinion, the crux of good reporting. Good reporting is, in our industry, if you work in data, it can be unbelievably complicated. Some of you guys like it to be complicated. We can have Looker Studio reports that go on for years. To me, this is it. To me, great reporting is 6 lines of text that everybody universally understands and walks away from a room saying, I concretely understand what our decision looks like from this point on. So how Sage elevates your talent. Again, your best people should be editors. Now this is agency specific, but it could apply to anything, is that I want our best talent in the room to constantly be in what I call lovingly here the Captain Kirk chair. I tell people this again, I'm somebody who repeats things too much, but if you're a director level person at Logical, I expect you to be in the Captain Kirk chair. That means you are constantly swiveling, you are constantly making decisions, delegating, pointing people in the direction to go and make the most impactful work happen. That cannot happen if you are a writer and not an editor. You simply have to be in a spot where data is coming to you to react and not the one where you are having to create it. Unlocks productive work, there's that P word again. Different things for different people inside of your organization that may mean something different, but for us, it means putting ideas in front of our clients and making them say no. That's pretty much it. We're bringing you an idea. It may not work, but you cannot tell us that we did not bring you some sort of concept that we feel that can advance the ball. And then finally, fewer mistakes. It turns out a lot of people are bad at spelling who are in the agency world. I don't know if that's because we're good at math or just generally bad at other things. But yeah, cut copy and paste out of that tool has been kind of a godsend on that. And then up here, we look at, and you'll get a copy of this, there's just really quality inside here. These are things that you're able to show either your team, your staff beneath you, or above you at the C-suite level or the board level, that anyone can understand what's going on, why is it happening, what's being done about it. So, Deck jockey's no longer AI unlocking better human output. Before we get into our video, is there anybody has a question kind of similar to the Harry ones about how we're doing this, how it might apply to your organization, and so on and so forth? Cool.
Sweet.
Just
Just one more, and then we'll go for that later. Short video.
Businesses today are drowning in dashboards and reports, but leaders still have to become analysts to get a clear answer. Traditional business intelligence tools promise dynamic reporting, but you're stuck in menus and filters, sifting through static snapshots that miss the bigger picture. Sage changes everything. It's not just dynamic reporting, it's dynamic insight. With conversational AI, you ask questions in plain English and get instant answers, even for complex business problems. Sage connects your data, analyzes context, and guides you deeper, turning every follow-up into actionable discovery. And it all starts with a conversation. No code, no complex queries. Just ask a question in plain English, the same way you'd ask your top analyst. Watch. The user wants to understand performance. Instead of digging through multiple platforms and reports, they simply ask. Sage doesn't just pull data. It synthesizes, analyzes, and visualizes the answer instantly. Now pay close attention. A static tool would stop here. It's giving you an answer, and now it waits for your next command. But Sage understands the context of your question and anticipates your next move. See these suggested questions. Sage is guiding the analysis, revealing the deeper insights hidden in your data. It's turning a simple query into a strategic discovery. Unlike typical tools, Sage's insights evolve with every conversation. Don't settle for passive dashboards. Build your own strategic advisor. Get the intelligence you need when you need it with Sage from Logical Media Group.
Sage got so much better hype music. I was fired up just like watching that. Yeah, that was great. So yeah, I think this is very similar to Harry. What we showed you today is the functionality that I think applies across to a lot of different use cases. This is clearly marketing specific. The idea here is that anytime that you are in need of a couple of things, I would call them business intelligence acceleration. So if whatever you are trying to track, report, follow, whatever basically data impacts decisions that you make for whatever context of your business, this is a tool that can work. And number two, it is just fantastic for taking complex data sets and putting them into a language that either A, needs to be decipherable across multiple levels of an organization, but B, we talked about that internal system of basically a standard definition of terms. So if you have a hard time in an organization of people having ambiguous definitions, terminology for things that you commonly discuss, this is a tool that can do a lot for you. Cool. Your decision framework, again, a lot of times it's not about getting into the tech. It's not about trying to understand what I get to do. A lot of it's just like, what is the biggest pain in my ass on a given week or month? It is, what am I doing over and over again? What is hurting the most? It might not be you, it might be one of your direct reports, as I see them wasting time here or there. Is there a clear rules-based process? This is one of the biggest things I think in relation to AI is trying to insert one of these tools into just your regular workflow with no real contextual setup for that can probably be a pretty big disaster. So I think having conversations with us or yourselves internally about how this might impact everything is good, and is there a measurable outcome possible? Cool, and so you can basically take this home with you, fill it out. We're happy to talk with you, phone, email, personal meeting, whichever.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, I'll take us out here. Again, hours saved. Harry's repeatable tasks that he solves for, arguably important, but we have really smart people that work here. Really smart people. And it's a waste of their time to spend pulling data, preparing decks, and analyzing, what was performance last week. We use the LLM, we use Sage's brain now, and train it to surface all that data for them so that they can focus on bigger picture items. So we're empowering them. Success with Harry was about our teams trusting him. Success with Sage is about our teams trusting him and using it, right? So adoption is important, but celebrating small wins. Don't flip your organizations upside down overnight just to AI them, right? We built Sage on a foundation of Harry that, quite frankly, I'm pretty excited about because it's a pretty cool tool. So in closing, right, again, get the noise out of your way. Don't have anxiety like I did over the past 2 decades with every technological advancement, right? Success in this new AI world is about celebrating small wins and being dedicated to continuous learning, right? And embracing when it doesn't work and always being curious about what's coming next. That is how you build the foundation for what you guys are going to do next. We've got a survey you can take to help you figure this out for yourself. You can obviously contact us, and I think there's a framework in your QR code. But really appreciate you guys listening to us today for our first keynote. I hope it was a value add. So thank you.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we have an exceptional panel coming up here in probably the next 20, 30
Yeah,
minutes.
I think we'll take 20-minute break. For those of you that don't know, there's a bathroom next to the door that you came in. There's one in the back of the office. Should those both be occupied or you need more privacy, there's 2 in the basement that you can use. And also, Second City Headshots is our sponsor here today, Cameron Southwood, good friend of ours and a good partner to our agency. He is giving away free headshots, and he made me look like I was like 15 pounds lighter, so go do it. But 15 minutes or 20 minutes and we'll regroup. But thanks, guys.
Thank you.